Okay, so today we're going to be looking at something pretty interesting.
Okay.
We're doing a deep dive on an episode of the Faith Hustle podcast.
Okay.
And, when you go into something thinking it's going to be one way and then it just completely flips the script.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt about this one.
Interesting.
So they're talking about faith and wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And they make this really bold claim that building wealth isn't just okay from a biblical perspective, but might actually be encouraged.
Wow.
With caveats, of course, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, that is going against the grain for sure.
Right.
Especially with verses like 1 Timothy 6:10 that talk about the love of money being the root of all evil.
Exactly. And that's what I think is so fascinating about this deep dive, is that it kind of tackles this head on.
Okay.
And they point out that there are actually over 2,300 verses in the Bible about money.
Wow.
More than verses about faith itself.
Really?
Yeah. So clearly there's more to this conversation.
It definitely suggests that maybe there's a more nuanced relationship there than a lot of people would initially think.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, this is good or this is bad, it seems like there's a lot more to look at.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the key verses that Faith Hustle highlights is Deuteronomy 8:18.
Okay.
Which says, "And thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he swore unto thy fathers, as it is this day."
It's really interesting because it's very clearly linking the ability to acquire wealth with God's power. It's not just about a person's own individual effort.
Right.
It suggests that it's like this divine blessing that is somehow a part of it.
It makes you wonder, right? Are we overlooking that kind of divine provision in our own lives sometimes?
Yeah.
Like when an unexpected door opens? Or, you stumble upon some resource that just helps you get ahead?
It really does make you think.
Yeah. And that's where this whole concept of stewardship comes in, right?
Yeah.
Faith Hustle really emphasizes that it's not just about getting wealth. It's about how you use it.
Right. Being responsible with it.
Yeah. And they use this really interesting example to kind of illustrate this.
Okay.
They give the parable of the talents a modern twist.
Okay, so we're talking bags of gold instead of talent.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
And instead of servants, we have different investment strategies.
Oh, okay.
So like mutual funds, a money market account, just a regular savings account.
Gotcha. So we're kind of seeing how those different approaches play out.
Exactly. And I'm picturing this in my head right now.
Okay.
Each of these investment strategies is entrusted with these bags of gold, which represent the resources that we're given.
Right.
And I'm guessing the outcomes reflect different approaches to stewardship.
So like the mutual fund servant taking the biggest risk ends up doubling the investment, showing the potential of bolder moves. Money market servant playing it safe sees a modest but steady return.
Okay.
But that savings account servant who basically just held on to the money doesn't see any growth at all.
It's not that they did anything wrong,
right?
But they didn't utilize what was given to them.
Yeah.
It's like that quote, the only thing worse than starting something and failing is not starting something.
I like that connection.
Yeah.
Because in the context of this parable, it seems like true stewardship involves not just holding on to what you have, but actively looking for ways to multiply it.
Yeah, and it makes you think about our own talents and gifts, too.
Absolutely.
Are we just sitting on them, or are we investing in them to create growth and make an impact?
That's a great point. It's not just about the finances, this whole idea of stewardship.
Yeah.
What are those bags of gold in other areas of our lives?
Yeah.
And how can we be better stewards of those?
That's such a good question to consider.
It is.
It's like this whole conversation is reframing what wealth really means.
Yeah.
It's not just about money. It's about abundance in every aspect of life.
And that idea of abundance is actually where we'll pick up in part 2.
Okay, cool.
So stay tuned. Welcome back.
All right, so we were talking about abundance.
Yeah.
And how it's not just about money. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting because if you think about the parable of the talents, the emphasis isn't on just like making money.
Right.
It's about using what you're given to create something more. And that could be financial growth, but it could also be about relationships or knowledge, our spiritual lives, even any area where we have the potential to kind of multiply what we've been given.
I like that. It's like blooming where you're planted, but like actively cultivating growth.
Exactly.
Not just accepting where you are.
Yeah. And, that connects back to what Faith Hustle was saying about aligning your actions with God's plan. Like if we believe that God is the source of our talents and our resources,
Yeah.
then using those to create abundance in every area of our lives could be seen as a way of like worshiping or fulfilling our purpose.
So it's like instead of focusing on our bank accounts,
Yeah.
we should be asking ourselves, like, how am I investing in my relationships?
Uh-huh.
How am I growing my knowledge and skills?
Yeah.
How am I nurturing my spiritual connection?
Those are really good questions. And I think the principle of stewardship applies there too.
Okay.
It's not just about accumulating wealth, but using what we have to make a positive impact.
Yeah. And the podcast talked about this in the context of money.
Right.
That it can be a really powerful tool to support causes you believe in, making a difference in your community, leaving a positive legacy.
And that idea of leaving a legacy makes me think of that verse from Proverbs.
Okay.
A good man leaves an inheritance for their children's children. Oh. It's suggesting that true wealth isn't just what we have for ourselves, but it's the impact that we're having on future generations.
It's a really powerful thought.
It is.
Because you realize that the choices we make today can have a ripple effect that extends way beyond our own lifetime.
It makes you think about what kind of legacy we want to leave behind.
Right. What values do we want to pass?
Exactly. What kind of world do we want to create for our kids and grandkids?
Those are big questions.
They are, but important.
Yeah. And I think they're worth asking ourselves.
Definitely.
Because if we see our resources, and not just money, but our time, our talents, our influence as tools to create a better future, it can really shift how we live our lives.
It is humbling when you think about it that way.
It is.
We're all part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
Even our small actions can have a big impact.
So true wealth isn't just about money.
Yeah.
It's about living a life of purpose and generosity and impact. It's about using what we have to make a difference.
And leave the world better than we found it.
I love that.
It's about aligning our actions with our values, using our gifts to create a life that's abundant and fulfilling for ourselves and the people around us.
What would happen if we applied that principle of stewardship to every area of our lives?
That is a great question.
Not just finances, but our relationships, our time, our talents.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
It really is a lot to think about.
It is, and it's an exciting thought.
Yeah.
And that's something we'll explore even more in the next part. So stick with us.
Yeah, it really is amazing to think about all the potential.
It is, right.
Like we unlock all these possibilities.
It's like you suddenly have this whole new set of tools to build a life that's just richer and more meaningful.
And I love that it's not passive.
No.
It's not just about waiting for it to happen.
Right, you have to do something.
Yeah, Faith Hustle is about actively cultivating that abundance.
Exactly. You have a role to play. You're shaping your own destiny.
That's like faith without works is dead.
Right.
You can't just believe in it. You have to work towards it.
You got to make choices that support that goal.
Yeah, invest in it.
Yeah, and that takes work.
It does.
And intention, even stepping outside your comfort zone sometimes.
And the podcast even talked about taking risks.
Like that servant who buried his talent.
Yeah, he was too afraid to lose it.
But he missed that chance to grow.
It's true. Sometimes playing it safe can hold us back.
Yeah, you might feel secure, but you might not reach your full potential.
Maybe that's where faith and hustle meet.
Okay, I like that.
It's about believing in something bigger, but also having that drive to make things happen.
Having that determination to go for it.
We're not just waiting around for blessings.
Right.
We're actively participating in creating that abundant life.
For ourselves and everyone around us.
As we wrap this up, I'm just feeling all these possibilities. What if we thought about everything as an opportunity for stewardship?
Yeah, it really changes how you see things.
So much potential for growth and impact and true wealth.
It's about seeing the abundance that's already there.
Yeah.
And then figuring out how to make it grow.
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation.
It really has.
Our listeners are probably full of ideas right now.
I hope so.
We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
What really resonated with you from this deep dive?
What are you going to invest in now?
Thanks for joining us on this journey into faith and finance.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep hustling, keep growing, and keep seeking that true abundance in every area of your life.